It will be split a little bit as we take a quick look at how practice 2 is laid out today. 35 minutes of green flag time. That's a reduction of 10 from what we see on a normal race weekend. And the qualifying groups will be set by the fastest time today. See the weather, 61 degrees and sunny. Track temp is going to be coming up a little bit, 105 degrees. Good chunk warmer than what we saw this morning. So I think it's about really assessing the change in balance between when the cooler conditions were this morning and how the hot weather has kind of shifted things either forward or rearward, and how the overall grip level has changed.
Almost every driver immediately making their way
number 2 before we go qualifying a little bit later on today. And Davey, certainly David Booth was one of those scratches their heads a little bit, but then we think that Mother Nature may have had a lot to do that.
He's back in the garage at the moment.
Yeah, very chilly. Still a little cool out there right now, but it has warmed up. The sun's still out. It always helps when the sun's beating down this racetrack. It will get that track temp up, which will definitely
also had a
help.
problem this morning. Robert Schwartzman, he's leaving the pit lane right now. He had a
try the alternate tire just to kind of prepare
nice to see the driver's eye back with Colton Herta. That's going to be fun to watch with a driver who's famous for some big saves. And this guy too.
Already slowing up to try to find that
Joseph Newgarden hands. Taking a commanding grip on the wheel as the stack up grows.
35-minute
See
session.
this as everybody tries to fire off at the timing line for a clean lap.
God, I hate that.
But 27 cars, James, what always happens is by the time Scott McLaughlin gets to turn 7, he's going to have traffic. So it never works here.
It really doesn't. I mean, sometimes you want to just sit and in pit lane and wait. You see the alternate start-finish line there, that dotted line across. That's where the drivers want to be up to speed and going.
And here's McLaughlin on board. Now he's got 3 corners here, so he left, right, left, and look what's ahead of him.
This
stack up.
These cars are going slow.
He's about to find the back of the pack, and he has to back off now. And everyone behind him will have to do the same. It's a concertina effect. It's like a massive traffic jam on the interstate.
Car in front of you to get some pretty track time.
27 cars on a track that is just 2.4 miles long.
Yeah, when you look at the track map, with all the cars out there, I mean, every foot of pavement is now taken. There are cars somewhere on this racetrack. You can say 25 of the 27 out there. It's so hard to find that sort of 3 to 4 second gap you ideally want to not be disrupted by the
Award, willpower, and
Schwartzman straight back into pit lane, having had that fuel pump issue this morning. McLaughlin to the top, but that 119.7 not representative at all, of course, as he backed off towards the end of the lap. Now we ride on board. Now we might get a proper, legitimate push lap from Scotty Mack in the 33s, who started on the front row of the grid last time out in Barber, brought home his first podium finish of the season.
Slow car in front there is going to have to...
Sunshine just absolutely bathing the world's greatest race course, blue skies, and you have to look long and hard to find any kind of cloud anywhere in the vicinity. So this should be a very good practice session for conditions much more conducive to what we'll see later this afternoon for qualifying.
Thanks, Alex. 2 sessions of practice today. Before we go qualifying that Alex referenced, we will do so at 4:30 Eastern time. Got a Indy Next qualifying session to sandwich in there and then wrap up the day with the first half of the Indy Next doubleheader. And yeah, Davey, we're looking at our multi-screen monitor, and we are seeing that drivers are still having a hard time spreading themselves out.
It just does not work. And I mean, I don't know how many times they got to do this, honestly. It's at every racetrack. They just slow down to, I mean, literally like 5 miles an hour just creeping around there. Well, then it all bunched up. Nobody, that was a second lap in a row. McLaughlin got slowed down. He sped up, made a whole lap. He gets back to, you know, the last few corners, and there's 5 cars for him dead stop on the racetrack.
Should this session be split in half like they do earlier in that first session?
Yeah, they're either going to have to split it in half or tell these drivers, hey, there's a minimum speed out there. Do not slow down. Everybody has to go for it. Where you come out on the racetrack, you better go, and then you just slowly, you're up to speed, but you just slowly gap yourselves, and that's a much better way than making it so dangerous when their cars are so
yes,
slow.
But my friend, I've done this a long time, and you guys don't listen.
Yeah, I think you're right. Better do it 2 groups.
David Malukas has figured it out early on anyway, but and to Davey's point, I mean, we're talking about a 69-second lap by Alex Below, and look where we are right now. We're like at 1:12.871.
You just can't get laps.
Who's the fastest? So, Yeah, and you will. I'll tell you when Rob Blackman and Alex Wolf have the opportunity to do the debrief after that session, you can bet that maybe at least one of those drivers they talked to is going to say, it was really tough to get a clean lap.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like I said, they're way off the pace, and it's going to continue to do that for sure right now. And we see a few of the cars out there. See Rasmussen with some brake lock, which could be just not heating the tires. You got to remember, there's several things that lock your brakes up, especially the front brakes on these cars. One of them is the bias isn't right from front to rear. The other one is cold tires.
Speaking of Rob Blackman, let's welcome him into the proceedings to the pit lane. Rob?
Well, what has been a bad day for Robert Schwartzman so far does not seem to be improving. He is currently down here at pit road, rear cowling off, and his crew going over looking over the rear of that vehicle, looking at that V6 Chevy engine. Remember, Schwartzman only had 4 laps turned earlier this morning in the practice session because of difficulty with that number 83 from Prima Racing. And again, he is not trending the right direction here, as he's the one car that has stopped on pit road. And I'll try to get an update here in a moment, but just reading the body language from those with his crew, they are displeased and a bit bewildered right now that Robert Schwartzman is having a bad day.
All the years that I've done this, Davey, it just fascinates me that, I mean, these teams are meticulous in how they pull over these race cars. They fire them up, they warm them up back in the garage area, and I mean go over them, pour over them with a fine-tooth comb, and everything looks good in terms of the data, and then all of a sudden they pull it out to the pit box, they fire it up, and you have an issue and you can't explain.
And these cars are so complicated. There's so much into the, they look so sleek, it's so beautiful with the bodywork on it, but you start taking that bodywork off, and it's just a menagerie of wires. It's a lot of work. As we see Scott Dixon go off track, come back on. And there's a lot that can be missed, but you got to remember, these mechanics are very, very good. And there's certain things that fail. There's human mistake, and it happens in all kinds of racing. But yeah, it just is a bummer.
Scott Dixon taking a long way off of that exit of Holman Boulevard. You're getting to look at the replay.
Yeah, it locked his front brakes up equally. Both tires are probably not up to temperature yet. Comes back on course, sees a car coming, so moves out of his way. It's a veteran move for sure. He's back on track. He shouldn't have hurt anything on that car whatsoever. Going down the front straightaway, heading down to turn 1.
And that was turn number 7, the runoff area just past turn 7. And this is one of those places, quite frankly, where the runoff areas are pretty forgiving. I mean, if you do have it off, you can get the car back on the racetrack.
Yeah, very forgiving. Matter of fact, some of the most forgiving anywhere. You can make a mistake in a lot of these high-speed corners and recoup. Matter of fact, that's one of the highest speed is in this front straightaway. And you go beyond that, they have a chicane there now that is more of a chicane than it's been in the past, that you have to go through and really get slowed down before you merge back on, but turn 7 is the next.
Well, if memory serves me correctly, I mean, this course has been changed a bit from the initial course that was built for Formula One.
Yeah.
Dixon, Kanan, Dario were some of the guys that were involved in reconfiguration of this course.
Yeah, so, the first big change is off a turn. When we go into 5 and 6, that little kink going onto that back straightaway, that was a right-hander turn 5 instead of a left. It kind of went into an oval situation and then filled quite a bit slower before you went on Holman Boulevard. And another area, there was no infield section down in turns 12, 13, 14. They just stayed on the road course.
Yeah. It's been interesting to see, and there have been some that have suggested that they go back to that configuration and they go through through turn number 1 and back up the straightaway. But a lot of folks have said, well, that probably wouldn't be safe because of the speed that carries.
Yeah, well, we go 240 around here too. So.
That was my point. I'm in agreement. That might be nice to try it sometime.
Let's do it.
Let's go back to Alex Wolf.
And just in the first about 8.5 minutes of this practice session, already seeing some adjustments being made for the 5 car for Arrow McLaren with Pato O'Ward top 10 in the practice session this morning. And they have the front cover off, and they're paying attention to the front shocks and springs. We saw Scott McLaughlin and some of the other drivers during that morning practice working on the back end of the car with the shocks and springs. But Pato O'Ward adjusting the front on his 5 car, and he'll be heading back out momentarily.
That's essentially where all the work gets to be done on these cars, Davey. That's where the primary adjustments are with shot.
Yeah, and I just see like Plo, for example. I think he went out early, did not early. He was on some used tires. He now has the sticker tires on that car. Scott Dixon, after his little off, he went P1 at 110.91. So basically 1 second off of what Plo was able to turn earlier. But I'm pretty sure Dixon didn't have new tires on either. So we see Newgarden out there scuffing back and forth, getting some heat in his tires. So we'll see what kind of lap he can pull off. Those are the primary tires still as well.
Scott Dixon, as Davey told you, went to P1 on that last lap on a 110.913. Nolan Siegel has pedaled it up to second fastest on the chart. Then Kyle Kirkwood, then Daly, and DeFrancesco is fifth fastest. Louis Foster is sixth. Alex Palou is seventh. Christian Rasmussen is eighth. Graham Rahal is ninth. Christian Lundgaard is 10th. Marcus Ericsson 11th. Colton Herta 12th. Stingray Robb 13th. Marcus Armstrong 14th. David Malukas is 15th. Callum Eilot is 16th. 17th. Rinus VK. Rossi 18th. 19th. Newgarden. Power 20th. 21st Rosenquist. 22nd Simpson. 23rd Abel. 24th McLaughlin. And 25th O'Ward. Couple of cars still waiting to take their first laps here. Maybe a tire management issue, or it may be an issue with the car, like the incident, well, like what we reported on earlier with Robert Schwartzman. 24 minutes remaining in this session, Davey, and for those that might have missed us earlier, there has been yet another adjustment to the tire allotment for the weekend here at the road course.
So 5 sets of primaries, 4 sets of alternates are issued to each team, but the big difference is in the race, you have to run 2 sets of alternates and 2 sets of primaries during the race, which, it's a 3-stopper. It doesn't really change that anyways, but it kind of makes it straightforward what you have to do. But the question is, how much time are going to be on the alternate tire? For example, some teams may not want to run them in this session to save them for the race. You only have 4 sets. You're going to use 2 of them up for qualifying for sure. And so that would leave 2 good sets for the race. So it's going to be interesting what they do.
And for those that missed the conversation we had with Mike Hull, you were your eyes widened a little bit because Davey Hamilton works backward on race strategy from the last lap to the first lap. Mike Hull informed us that they work from the last lap of the race all the way back to the first lap of
practice. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, really, it's really something I'm going to think about and look and how that works, and from now on, because Mike Hull, what a smart guy. One of the calmest guys on pit row. I always said if anybody was going to tell me the world's going to come to an end in an hour, I want it to be him, because he'd be so calm about it. But Schwartzman was out of his car, unfortunately, so that is definitely not good news with him completely out of his car. So it looks like his session may be done. He's doing an interview with TV right now.
One of the interesting things I'll never forget about Mike Hull is when Dixon had to make an engine change before qualifying a couple of years ago, and we were trying to keep people abreast of the situation and how difficult it was for the team. And Mike Hull stood right by the garage door with the door open, and I think we talked to him 3 times, and he gave us updates because I think he understood that we were the conduit to the fan base.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in those situations, as you know, over the years, teams have pulled that car in the garage and they've shut the door and not made anybody available to update us on that.
Yeah, that's right. No, really a class guy. He's the kind of guy you want on your team. He's the kind of guy you want to represent any team within this sport. So he's been doing this a long, long time. I don't foresee him going away in the near future. He's with one of the all-time greats, Scott Dixon, who was with Chip Ganassi. So, but yeah, he deserves where he's earned his space there, that's for sure.
22 minutes remaining in this session now, and just ticked underneath that, and Kiffin Simpson and Joseph Newgarden have now gone P1 and P2. Simpson with a time of 1:10.369. Joseph Newgarden 1:10.389. Alex Palou now goes 1:10.389. He's gone to P2 with Newgarden, Kirkwood, and Dixon, the top 5.
Blackman has Schwartzman.
Let's go to Rob Blackman.
Well, let's visit with Robert Schwartzman. I was just mentioning on the radio, it has not been a great start to the day for you. Only 4 laps turned in the morning session, and now here you are out of the number 83 Prima Racing Chevy. What is the problem?
I don't know what is the problem. I haven't done a lap, honestly. I just went out in to see. We have a engine issue that is I don't know what's going on exactly. I think the team needs to figure it out. But yeah, it's just, again, it's a shame because it's a third time in 5 races that I have an issue where I got compromised with my free practice running, and I don't know if they're gonna even fix it for qualifying today, but if they do, I have to go in qualifying without any reference whatsoever, so it's gonna be just me improvising.
How frustrating for you, especially as a rookie. These laps are so important to you as a rookie, and now you don't have that opportunity.
It's incredibly frustrating because I felt like in this track I could have shown a good performance. It's quite a European style track, so I was thinking that I can do a really good job. And yeah, as a rookie, it just kills me. I have no reference at all. I have no idea how the car is, how is the balance, anything. So again, it's just a massive shame. I'm honestly really frustrated. I don't have anything else to add on this side. It's just, I don't know. It's just no comment.
Let's hope your luck turns drastically here before the end of the day, Robert. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it. A very tough situation. Appreciate Robert Schwartzman giving us some insight as to what the situation is. He doesn't have an answer. The team doesn't have an answer. And Navy, like we talked about in the session earlier today in terms of this Prema team, I mean, every lap lost is a lap that they simply cannot get back, and it's detrimental to the success of that team at this point.
Man, we talked about it already, like I said, is anything with a new team, everything's so hard, but man, when you have situations like this, those gremlins really cost. And Schwartzman, he's raced in our series before, so he has a better idea of what the series is about, these tracks, but Schwartzman has no idea. This is completely new, and as he said, he's had 3 out of the 5 events now, I guess, so 3 out of the 5 events compromised on free practice because of his car failures. So not a good start. And that team, like I said, they're doing everything right. It's just they don't have the luck right now.
Well, I talked to Ryan Briscoe, who's guiding the forces for Robert Schwartzman last week at Barber Motorsports Park, and that's one of the things Ryan said that's so very, very important. And in terms of what their focus is and what they feel like they need to do to simply be successful. And I don't think they had any preconceived notions coming into the season for especially Robert Schwartzman in terms of, finishing positions or anything like that. They just wanted him to be able to turn every lap possible in practice, every lap possible in qualifying, and every lap possible in the race.
Yeah, and especially, the Schwartzman name got thrown around as being a potential Ferrari driver in F1. So, I mean, we know he's got talent. I mean, if F1 and Ferrari's looking at him, heard that there was a good opportunity for him to be their Friday driver if Lewis Hamilton did not go over there and kind of switch things up. But, yeah, we know he's good and know he's got a lot of promise. And they thought, well, hey, we want to keep him under our banner, which is, Prem is affiliated with Ferrari. So, bring him over here, do some INDYCAR, keep him fresh, but man, it's just not working out at this point.
Test driver for Ferrari and Sauber, so he's very accomplished. He won races in F2 and was the F3 champion in 2019.
Yeah.
So good pedigree there.
Yeah, good pedigree.
So Giffen Simpson continues P1, and that's a time of 1:10.369. Pelosi, Siegel, Foster, Stingray, Robb in the top 5. Power, Newgarden, Kirkwood, Lundgaard, Dixon through 10th, 11th O'Ward, 12th Rossi, 13th Daly, 14th DeFrancesco, Rasmussen is 15th. Rahal is 16th, and Ericsson and Herta. Marcus Armstrong 19th, 20th is Jacob Abel, 21st is David Malukas, 22nd Callum Ilott, 23rd Renus VK. Rosenquist is 24th, is Scott McLaughlin. Currently is 25th fastest, and we see Stingray Robb go to P1, but that is made clearer by the fact that there's that little red box lit up now on our timing and scoring page, indicating there is 16 minutes left in this session, Davey. Teams are starting to throw on those alternates.
Yeah, about Robb, P1. We haven't seen that, I don't think, before at top of the chart, but you just nailed it. He put on that alternate set of tires. He ran, excuse me, he barely beat Palou out with that red set, but it gained Stingray almost 3/4 of a second in time from his last time out, so considerably faster on those alternate tires. Now the question is, since you have to run 2 sets of them during the race, what's the fall off going to be? I don't expect it's going to be really a lot, but it could be. I think it's more interesting if it is. to be honest with you, a lot of fall off, but we'll just have to wait and see.
It's interesting to see how these compounds have combined with these racetracks, Davey. There have been tracks where actually your second lap on the reds ended up being your best lap. I don't know if that'll be the case here, but that has been the case in other tracks.
That's right, yeah. Which takes a little while to get some heat in them, and I've seen that before with a tire that just takes a little, you got to get the scuff off of it, got to get a little heat in it before it really starts performing. And not to change the subject, but I think I've seen Ferrucci, who has turned 0 laps, also being pushed back behind the wall.
You know that usually when you say not to change the subject, you're about to change the subject.
Yeah.
That's okay. So let's change the subject by going to Rob Blackman.
Actually, we're going to stay on that subject. I was about to mention Santino Ferrucci just had his car pushed out of the garage area and now on to pit road, so he can try to get some laps in here in the final 15 minutes of practice time here. Have not yet run down the reason why there is a delay, but as Davey said, at least Santino Ferrucci is now out of the garage area and is still going to try to get a few laps in before this afternoon session is finished.
He turned 10 total laps in the session this morning, all told, and he was third fastest.
Yeah, third quickest, went quick. I didn't realize he had that few laps in. So that's good to know, Rob, that there seems to be some issues there, but the car seems to be fast when he is on track. So hopefully he could get just a little bit of lap time in right now just to, get a reference point before qualifying.
7 starts here. He missed 4 of them when he did not have a full-time ride. He was 10th in 2019. He finished 9th in 2020. His best start here in 2020 was 11th.
Gotcha, yeah. So, I mean, not too bad. Obviously, we know he's been on a pole. We know that's where he'd rather be. He has that Penske. We know the Penske alliance is there, technical alliance, so he has help with the setups. Although the fastest Penske car right now is Power in P7.
Well, he's one of those handful of guys, though, and I guess we put maybe Alexander Rossi in that category and a couple of others. Felix Rosenquist is another one. I think they would tell you that, okay, look, we're happy that we're qualifying well, and we're happy with 6th or 5th or whatever, but we really need to start winning races.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it'd be great to, AJ has his issues, going through some health issues as well right now, so it'd be great to see if they could put that thing in vector lane, especially for the Indy 500. You imagine what this place would do if AJ...
Oh, there's no question. I mean, whenever he runs well, you can tell it, especially when we've got guys out in the turns, because you can hear the cheers.
Cheers going crazy, yeah. And Ferrucci is kind of a complete opposite of AJ in some ways and just like him in others. So they do have a car out there looking the nose right now. Looks like they're going to... hooking some stuff up and get that thing on there. And hopefully, how much time we got left, Mark? We got about 13 minutes.
Just a little under 13 minutes. I tell you, folks, if you have the opportunity to work yourself into a paddock area at one of the races, or if you have an opportunity to get that entry into Gasoline Alley here, I think one of the coolest places to visit when you walk back through the garage area. A lot of people want to catch a glimpse of their driver and a glimpse of their team and everything. But I still find the tech inspection area one of the most fascinating places in the racetrack. The way those guys and gals pour over those cars and the process that they go through. And the thing that I always appreciated back when I was doing tours and, Rocket Kevin Blanche was in charge of that and that group, the thing that always impressed me about it is that while certainly they focused on making sure the cars, the right height and the wings were set, at the proper levels and everything. First and foremost, their primary focus was on safety, making sure everything was safe on these race cars.
Yeah, that's for sure. And you're right. That is a very fun area to go watch. Just the table that car goes on, and how all the hydraulics and all the pieces electronically come out and measure stuff. It's pretty. Just the scale pad itself is amazing.
And the guy that lays on the ground, and they roll the car over the top of him with a ramp, and he checks the under tray and all of that stuff. Make sure those skid plates are in place and all that stuff. It's it's a pretty cool process to watch, and it's well worth the time and energy to watch it. And there's a lot of good interaction between those teams and those officials back.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And a lot of those guys are former members of racing.
Yeah, well, Rocket being one of them, right? One of the all-time great. That's why they got him. I think he knew how to cheat, so you want to bring him in.
I knew what to look for.
What to look for and bring
Not
him.
saying he ever did.
Not saying that's right. Not saying he ever did. We love Rocket, and he does a good job. But I think he knows. I mean, it's hard to slide stuff by him, and it's a great place. And you're right. A lot of them are former race mechanics. They know what's going on with these cars. That's the best guys to have in tech.
I think if anyone is going to take a shot on those alternates, it's going to have to be soon, Davey, because we're approaching the 10-minute mark of the session.
Yeah, and I really am wondering if they're going to do it. You know, with a lot of Ford, and after talking to some of the teams, like, they'd have to conserve those tires somewhat. You have to run two in the race.
Then Blackman
you really
gave
want
an
two for
update after
qualifying.
Alex.
So do you want to use your qualifying tires for that stint, or do you want stickers? So it's going to be interesting to see if they put them on.
Updates from the pits. We'll start with Alex Wolff.
Well, to the roar of the crowd here behind us in the stands, Santino Ferrucci just took that AJ Foyt number 14 Chevrolet onto the road course. Very quickly had a chance to talk to Larry Foyt before he went to work on the timing stand about what the issue was with the 14 car, and it was clutch related for the 14. And what took them so much time with the beginning part of this practice session was they had to split the car in half to fix that. But the clutch issues are now rectified, and the 14 car is on track and turning practice laps as we go to Rob Blackman.
Yeah, let's maybe provide a little bit of insight. The guys are just talking about, Davey specifically, about anyone's going to use the alternates here in this second practice session. I can tell you Connor Daly has done so. Connor Daly putting on sticker reds, and he is now currently working his third lap in sticker reds. When he comes back to the pits, I'll let you know. But we at least know this much, Davey. From the Who Goes Hollinger team, they're at least going to run sticker reds to start. How many laps still to be determined. I'll let you know in a bit.
Yeah, that's going to be, I mean, they chose to do that, and not saying it's a huge gamble, but it could be. I really got to think this is the first time that they've done this strategy and making them run two sets of alternates in the race. So I think it's a situation where I kind of want two sets of stickers. I think maybe I'll gamble in qualifying on running those two sets of qualifying and get the most out of them, because you got to remember, if you make the final fast six, you got to run a set of those in there as well. So it's gonna be tricky on that red set.
Foster has gone to P1 now at a 69.862. So I think for those that maybe gamble and don't spend extensive time on the red, I guess that begs the question, how big of an adjustment is it in terms of the car itself going from primaries to alternates? I wouldn't think much. So maybe they have a good enough baseline on the primaries to feel good about the alternates without running a lot of laps on them?
There's usually a balance change, Mark, whether it's putting a little nose wing in it, taking a nose wing out, just a little balance change normally. And you'd like to go out right now and find out what that is, but we'll just have to wait and see.
We see a couple of cars working on testing the draft. A couple of the McLaren cars were trying to test out that draft a little bit through that switchback off of 5 and 6 and setting up for turn 7 at Holman Boulevard.
That's one good. That's one good opportunity. I know that working with your teammates, seeing what the draft does for you, because in qualifying, if you can take advantage of that draft to try to get a better time, that will get you a better lap time. And if you can get out there with your same group, that could be a big advantage on trying to start farther in this field just to get you some drafting. Approaching the 7-minute mark of this session, and we'll give you the full field rundown now. Louis Foster has turned a time of 1:10.100. Stingray Robb just a couple of ticks behind him. Connor Daly is the other in the 1:10 range. Then Alex Palou, Kiffin Simpson, Nolan Siegel is 6th. Christian Lundgaard is 7th. Will Power is 8th. Rosenquist is 9th. And Ray Hall is 10th. Scott Dixon 11th. Jacob Abel 12th. 13th Newgarden. 14th Kirkwood. 15th O'Ward. 16th Rossi. 17th DeFrancesco. 18th Rasmussen. 19th Erickson. 20th Herta. 21st Armstrong. 22nd Malukas. 23rd Eilot. 24th McLaughlin. And 25th VK. Waiting on Santino Ferrucci to clear that timing and scoring loop for the first time after he was third fastest this morning, but you heard him heard us get the update from him. He had a bit of a clutch issue that they had to work hard to repair, so his time in this session was limited.
And not going to be any laps turned by a very frustrated Robert.
Yeah, he's the only one now that that Ferrucci's finally made it out there. And you can see that the red tires are definitely an advantage. Foster, Rob, Daly, first, second, third, they all have that alternate tire on. We just looked at Colton Herta, which finds himself right now in the 26th position, if I'm not mistaken, in that area. He's way down the line. Or let me see, Colton Herta. 21st. And he put a new set of primaries on, so he does not go to that alternate tire. I think that the strategy here is, and I think I'd take it, is not run him here and just wait for qualifying.
DeFrancesco has gone to P2 now on the alternates. Let's give you the rundown of drivers and who's on the alternates and where they currently are with 5.5 minutes remaining in the session. You've got Louis Foster, DeFrancesco, first, second. Rob is third. Daly, fourth. All on the alternates. Nolan Seago, seventh on the alternate. And you've got Alexander Rossi, 20th. And you've got Callum Eilot, 23rd. All of those drivers on the alternates, Rob Blackman.
Well, now we do have an answer now for Connor Daly and just how many laps they would put on that first set of primary alternates. It ends up being five total laps on those primary reds. He is back in the pit stall now and just sitting and relaxing for the moment. But again, I know this strategy with alternates and primaries is something we're going to have a close eye on all weekend. We can't. I can't watch all the race teams at one time, but I can watch certainly Hugo Hollinger, and I can tell you Connor Daly, when he rolled the dice with the primary reds. The sticker reds, it worked out well for him because, as Mark just mentioned, he's now in the top 5 on the speed chart and parked for the moment after putting 5 laps on those sticker reds. As we go further down pit lane and check in with Alex Wolf.
Well, Rob, as we get into the waning moments of this practice session, Scott McLaughlin continuing to chase the setup. Another rear spring adjustment that is made because for Scott McLaughlin still having trouble with rear grip on that 3 car. He's going to go back out on a used set of the primary black sidewall tires, but some rear grip trouble for Scott McLaughlin in the closing minutes.
Quick off in the south end by Kyle Kirkwood. Got off the grass a little bit, slowed up a little bit, got it going. Had a long talk with Kyle Moyer during the break and talking about his driver, Scott McLaughlin, and he said that that guy, he upped the ante in terms of the dedication in the offseason, and especially on ovals, Davey. I know he finally got that win on an oval in Iowa last year, which was huge for him. But in terms of this race here, he spent a lot of time in the offseason watching film of drivers that he felt like were the best here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway to learn his trade. We'll get you to comment on that in just a moment, but first reassess what just happened according to the replay watching Kyle Kirkwood.
Yeah, what happened is coming off turn 8 there, it just, turn 8, I think that is, 10. He just got the back end just so slightly over the curbing, slid that thing around, got in the grass. He almost saved it. Gets like a half a spin, and then it spun back around. No harm, no foul, but just got that back end off of the grass.
So now go back to the comment we made about McLaughlin. I mean, he watched a lot of video of the guys, seeing how they tackle the turns especially.
Yeah, probably Rick Mears being one of them because he's part of that Penske organization. And one thing with Rick Mears, he always seems to help all the drivers out of that camp. And so, he's studying.
He spent a lot of time with Simon Pagenaud.
Yeah, well, he's a winner as well.
He really has, and that's because that there were a lot of drivers that were very instrumental in helping Simon get fast around.
And Simon, Ben Bretzman was engineer for both of them, and you'd think, actually he took Simon's ride from Penske, so you wouldn't know how that relationship is. But Simon knows this game, he knows how it works. That doesn't mean he can't still be friends, and I think that they remain good friends. And I miss Simon being around. Actually, I hope he comes around here in May a little bit. He just kind of disappeared after that injury he had in mid-Ohio, but man, what a talented driver, and if he's helping Scott out, it's a big plus.
Under 2 minutes to go in the session, Graham Rahal has gone to P1, and we'll continue to update you on who's on the alternates. Rahal first, Foster second, DeFrancesco third, Stingray Rob fourth, Daly fifth, and Rossi sixth. Pillow is 7th fastest on the primary, same for Kiffin Simpson. Then Siegel and Eilot 9th and 10th on the alternate. Rasmussen down in 21st on the alternates, and Rita's VK is 25th on the alternates. Ferrucci has turned just a handful of laps. He had clutch issues. He's currently 26th fastest in Sportsman. His car is not able to participate in this session. So I guess what we know is only exceeded by what we don't know in terms of what the strategy is going to be in this qualifying session.
Yeah, we on board with Scott Dixon, locks that right front tire up just a little bit, goes through that chicane, but they are the primary tire on the car right now. He doesn't have the softer ones on, and I like I say, Plo doesn't. Ray Hall just went to P1 with those alternate softer tires on, and with only a few minutes, about 43 seconds left, you can see that Plo, Simpson, Lundgaard, Power, Pato Ward, Rosenquist, majority of the field actually are not putting those alternate tires in.
I mean, and we just saw the replay from Scott Dixon. I will say this: if you go down to that runoff area in turn number 1, you can get back out onto the racetrack, but you got to thread the needle to do it.
So Nick and I were talking about earlier. It used to be you went back through that runoff or that chicane to get back on the track. You could beat the field back on the track.
Can't do that anymore.
Yeah, that's all ended.
yeah, for sure. I mean, you got to weave your way through there, and literally, it looks like you're
pretty darn slow
going through the eye of a needle before you finally have an opportunity to jump back out on the racetrack. So yeah, there's not going to be any advantage there. Keeping an eye on the run of Rita's VK, it was a frustrating session for him this morning, Davey. He was not accomplished.
Yeah, it was. I mean, first spot, have a toe in, got held 5 minutes, didn't get that many laps in. Doesn't have made that many laps in for this session either. He's on that red set of tires, and VK shoots up to that 16th spot. Not where he wants to be on that, means he's on the softer tires.
And as we mentioned, Davey, this is an incredibly important session for these teams and these drivers because this is gonna help set the qualifying order.
Yeah, and by the way, we talked about Ferrucci making it back on track.
Blackman has Ray Hall.
He still finds himself in 26th, only 5 laps completed.
Let's hear from Graham Rahal.
Well, he did make the switch to the alternate reds, and it's a gamble that paid off. Top of the scoring or the timing pylon for Graham Rahal. Would you mind talking about making that switch late in this practice session and ultimately how that helped?
Yeah, I mean, we didn't feel like we were good enough, with what we had, and to know or to be confident to skate through in the top 12. So we really wanted to know what we had on reds, and it's going to hurt us in the first part of qualifying because we'll run a used red to start and then go to a new. But it is what it is. Like, as a team, we've got to be better in every regard, and part of that is prepping for qualifying. I think that hurt us last week at Barber and really tainted our race. So we wanted to make sure that we did a better job here.
Graham, thanks. Good luck.
Thanks.
I don't think there's any question, Davey, that they need to do whatever they can do to up their game for qualifying as a whole.
Yeah, no, as a whole for sure, and hopefully that does help them out. I think if I'm Graham, you run the used tires later on. I'd put a new fresh set on for that first round to try to get in the fast 12, and really try to, so the used set try to get that fast 12. I think that's the most important thing.
Well, as we mentioned earlier and documented, he's had his fair share of success here. In 16 starts, he's been in the top 10 13 times, and he has 5 top 5s and 3 runner-up finishes, but currently finds himself 16th in points with no top 5s or top 10s, and a good qualifying position would certainly help Graham Rahal in that respect.
Yeah, well, we know, he has such a great racecraft. We know that. I mean, we've said it for years. Like, man, if Graham could just qualify, he's going to win races because he starts in the back and comes right to the front and has such a great racecraft and has such a great race pace. We know that he can get the job done. And as we see Rasmussen again in that ECR car, just continue to lock up those front tires, just struggling to get that thing stopped without skidding the tires.
Top 6 on alternates at the end of this session. Rahal, Foster, DeFrancesco, Robb, Daly, and Rossi. Primaries for Palou and Simpson in 7th and 8th. Siegel 9th, Eilert 10th on alternates. Primary for Lundgaard in 11th. Alternate for Rasmussen in 12th. Will Power 13th. Award 14th. Rita's VK 15th fastest on the alternates. Rosenquist 16th. 17th Dixon, 18th Abel, 19th Newgarden, 20th Armstrong, 21st Erickson, 22nd Kirkwood, 23rd Malukas, 24th Herta, 25th McLaughlin. Again, not much time.
Well, it seems like IndyCar Radio has turned itself off. Let's cross over to Fox Sports on the international feed and catch up with some of the drivers.
Well, some thrills and spills in practice 2. Rasmussen on the limit and a little over it. Some really interesting decisions taken in that session. Some drivers choosing to run on the red tyre, and ultimately they were the ones who finished the session at the top of the timing sheet. No real surprise there, but how much will it hurt them for the remainder of the weekend? It's an RLL top 3. Graham Rahal, Louis Foster, Devlin DeFrancesco. Phenomenal run from those drivers.
So top 6 all went into the bag of gummy bears and got the freshies, but it was still Alex Palou best of the rest there. As you see the rest of the top 20, tough to always get a read in these kinds of sessions, but for the rookie Louis Foster, he impresses once again in practice. He's down on pit lane with Georgia.
2 solid sessions for Louis Foster. We have a trio of Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan drivers at the top. We've speculated why we would want to run the red tires in this practice session, but I'd like to hear from you what the plan was for the 45.
Yeah, for us, obviously still being a rookie, a big part of IndyCar is learning how the car transfers from black to red tires. I'm still not at that stage yet. I still need to get more comfortable with it. So we've always been running red tires. We get more black tires in practice anyway for being a rookie, one extra set. So yeah, that's the plan behind for our car at least. Just allows us to go into qualifying with a much better understanding of what we've got underneath us. Does limit us in the race and potentially qualifying on red tires, but yeah, we think this is the best step forward to get as best points finish result tomorrow as possible. That wasn't English. Anyway, so that's why we did it.
Qualifications next for Louis Foster, a winner here a year ago in Indy Next, guys.
I do like his attitude. Louis Foster admitting that you just don't know what you just don't know. Still much to learn for him, but a good place off.
Okay, so that's going to conclude our coverage of this session. And don't forget that we will be underway with qualifying tonight at 9:30 British summertime for all of the action. You can join us here on JB Motorsports for the qualifying session. Well, my thanks to IndyCar Radio and a brief bit there to Fox Sports. We'll see you later on for qualifying.